now we have this centralized problem. We talk about it with that example. How can I make sure that the sensors are really sending the right information? How can I make sure that the information is coming from the sensor is actually not altered when it goes to the cloud? All of these things, once you implement the blockchain, you're going to solve that problem.
Hello world, this is BetterTech, a podcast where we chat with some of the most successful leaders about the latest industry developments. So join us as we explore the world reliant on tech. This episode is brought to you by Techcell, a leading software development company. Check them out at techcell.com.
Today we have with us Ahmed Banafa, professor at Stanford and San Jose State University, media expert on IoT, blockchain, AI, and cybersecurity, MIT Technology Review Global Panel member, and author of the award-winning Secure and Smart IoT using blockchain and AI. So without further ado, let's hop into the episode and kind of get your take on the latest trends in IoT and blockchain.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
You are most welcome, Ahmed. First things first, what do you think is IoT and how it is driving the human-device interaction?
Well, IoT there's a simple definition for IoT. IoT stands for Internet of Things, which is everything around you is smart and communicate with each other and communicating with you. And I always give this example for my students when we're trying to introduce IoT as the topic of the class. You have a smart mirror, and they exist now. I was in the consumer electronic show in Las Vegas, and they have the smart mirror. So let's say that you have a smart mirror. You wake up in the morning, you look at that mirror. The mirror will analyze your face and say, you look horrible today, you're sick. So I already contacted the doctor and I have an appointment for you. Uber is waiting for you outside. I moved your meetings to the next week. So what happened after this, you go to the doctor, you finish your examinations, your visit, and then you go back home. The doctor will contact the pharmacy. The pharmacy will send your medication using a drone. And the drone will scan your eyes and to make sure that you are the right person to receive the medications. The containers of the medication you're taking is actually smart containers where when you open it and take one pill, a message sent to the doctor that you took one pill. Right. And if dissolve inside your body, that's another signal sent saying that you actually took that pill. You didn't throw it away. So that is a simple definition of how Internet of Things can make our life much easier. There are actually more examples. We can talk about them later about how IoT can change our life.
Right. Thank you for that. So what do you think are some of the latest trends in IoT?
Well, IoT now is a mainstream, at least here in the Silicon Valley, where I'm talking to you guys. It's a mainstream. You see a lot of companies, they really consider IoT as a must for them. To really understand IoT from a technical point of view, IoT consists of four parts. The first one is the sensor. The second one is the network, which is the communication, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, and the third one is the cloud, which is the analytic or the artificial intelligence of the data. And the last part is number 4, which is the application. So you have an app on your phone to turn on and off your lights or open or close the garage or do all these kind of activities. So what we have here in the Silicon Valley, we have companies focusing on each and every one of those 4 components. You have companies, which is the easiest one with the sensors, and you can apply the same thing to the rest of the 3 other parts.
Right. So, IoT had been there for quite some time now, but in my opinion, IoT saw its boom or the first actual use case when Amazon Dash button was released, right? If you remember. So, and that actually gave a boost to the IoT overall worldwide. So how do you think that after the Dash button, IoT has evolved since then?
Well, it is really an important thing to understand that, IoT now in an area like the Silicon Valley is really in all our life. I'll give you an example. Alexa, which is the one that used for Amazon. The same thing goes with Siri. The same thing goes with the Google Assistant. Keep in mind that all of those companies I just mentioned, including also Microsoft with the Cortana, they are really fighting for this piece of hardware that will be the hub for all the devices. Alexa, when you get it, you're going to find that you are connecting everything to Alexa. Alexa, turn off the light. Alexa, do this and this. This is what they would like to have. They want to give you this hardware, which is the hub for all the connectivities of everything around you, from the microwave to the refrigerator to the car to everything. And even if you buy a new car now, they ask you want to go with Siri or you're going to go with Alexa. So the thing about it is we went away from, from just pushing a button now to this Alexa, which is a minima or the minimized AI machine. You have it in your house or you have it in your car, and it's now communicating with almost everything.
Right. So, what do you think are some of the main challenges in IoT, and what particular sectors would actually see more growth in the coming days?
The biggest challenge for the IoT is security, because the more devices you have, the more you are exposed. Now, by the end of 2020, we'll have, according to Cisco, we're going to have about 50 billion devices connected. A device part of the IoT, anything that has an IP address, from the from the Nest thermostat to anything you think about it that is reconnected to the Wi-Fi. So security will be the biggest problem we're going to face. How can we keep all of the devices secure and communicating with each other? So this is number one. Number two is the standardization. I mean, we don't have the same standards. Now, Alexa is not talking to Siri. Siri is not talking to Google, Assistant. So this will be another challenge we're going to face, because none of those companies would like to give you an access to their own base or their customers. This will be an ongoing problem. We're going to see it all the time. And the last one is the lack of the skilled staff or worker or engineers in IoT. As I mentioned, that IoT has four components. So you need engineers in each one of them. You need somebody who's really specialized in the sensor, connectivity, cloud, and then the applications. The growth in all of them. I mean, you cannot complete the cycle without having the signal going from the sensor all the way to the application.
Right. So, in one of the places you mentioned that IoT drives cost reductions, right? So, and so how do you think that it pertains to the operational cost?
Well, now we're talking about the other side of the IoT, which is the industrial Internet of Things, which is basically part of the the industrial, the industry 4.0. Now, the same thing apply to the factories. When you have all these sensors that will sense the devices before it's fail, when you have the sensor that will give you the flow of the work itself, and you have the information that will be better for you. One prime examples of the use of the Internet of Things or the industrial Internet of Things is if you go to the warehouses of Amazon, you're going to see that it's completely dark and it's run by robot, and you have a human or two just watching everything. Robot does not need light. I mean, they have routines. They go around in the warehouses. They take stuff from back to forth. So you save money, you save time, and you save staff. Those are the three elements for any business to be interested in a technology. Time, money, and staff.
Right. Okay, so now we can shift gears to blockchain a bit. So, what, in your opinion, is blockchain?
Well, the blockchain is a well-defined, new technology. I mean, first of all, blockchain is a software. So this is going to simplify the process for us. It's a one way for us to keep the records of whatever activities, and nobody can change it. The biggest problem we have with the IoT and the blockchain is one solution that I proposed in 2017 through a paper I published for MIT Technology Review. It's talking about blockchain as one way to secure the Internet of Things devices. I'll give you an example to simplify the process of what is blockchain, why blockchain is really important. You go to any building, you have only the security guard at the door, check your credentials, your card, then you're in. And after that, when you can do whatever you want. This is the existing centralized system we have here with password and and username.
Right.
If you apply the concept of blockchain to that building, everybody in that building, if we have 60 people in that building, everybody in that building have a list of who should be in that building with names and pictures. So if I came from outside and I managed to go through the security guard by manipulating, bribing, doing something, then I'll pass the first person, the second person, the third person, and everybody will be looking at that list. So after third or fourth person, they're going to say this person is not on the list, and I'll be kicked out of that building. This is the concept of the blockchain. This is how it is secure.
Okay, okay. So typically, like Bitcoin saw quite a lot of boom in the recent past, and so as that is an implementation, or you can say a use case of blockchain, everyone in the world related blockchain to Bitcoin directly or indirectly. So I mean, how do you think? I mean, we can avoid this problem, and how in future it can be resolved that people only don't link a blockchain
Right.
with a cryptocurrency only.
Well, it goes back to how the blockchain technology came to the picture. Started with that paper in 2009, and Satoshi Nakamoto, when he published, or he or she or they published that paper, and he was talking about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is basically one way to overcome the trouble we have on the 2008 financial
Mhm.
crisis by short-cutting or short circuit the banks. But
Right.
the blockchain suffered from that one, because Bitcoin, which is, for me, I'm against that Bitcoin completely, because it's fluctuating. It has huge price.
Mm.
Yesterday it was 8,000 plus, and in 2017 it was 21,000. There is no logic in the whole speculations. The only way for us to define this to people and make sure that they distinguish is to see other applications. For example, IBM, they have the food trust network, and that food trust network is using blockchain. Walmart, the same thing. They will never accept you as one of their vendors unless you join their blockchain network. And people will see it, how it's going to benefit people, and distinguish between the two. The cryptocurrency is just one application of the blockchain, not the whole blockchain.
Right. So what are some of the applications which actually differentiate, I mean, blockchain from cryptocurrency? Like you mentioned that cryptocurrency is just one use case of that. So what are some of the other applications which the audience can relate to?
Yeah, I mean, the IBM Food Trust, and anybody can Google that. What happened with that is they record the food or the fruit or the vegetables from the farm to the table. So what they're going to do is they call it from the farm to the fork. So if anything happened, if we have some issues with one of the, for example, the lettuce, and they can track back this one to the farm where they have it, instead of shutting down the whole operations. The same thing goes with the identity. There's if you have a place where you can store all the information, and this information you are guaranteed it's not going to be changed. Why? Because you have multiple copies of it on
Mhm.
thousands of computers. You'll feel safe about this. Think about it. If you go to the doctor and you enter this information because you go into the doctor first time, and then you move to another doctor, you have to go through the same process. Why I have to do, my birthday is the same, my height is the same, nothing changed except new things. Why not have this information stored somewhere which we trust that storage, where everybody can access it and get that information, with my permission? The same thing goes with buying a house. Instead of having all those papers, I'm going to sign it, I'm going to initialize it, I'm going to do all this stuff. I do it once, and it is saved on multiple computers, which is the distributed ledger. We talk about it. So if one of them is off, something happened in one of them, then you still have thousands of copies, that you can use them. So there is a lot of application for this, which is based on the data not going to change. This is the key thing about the blockchain. You cannot alter the data. If it's there forever.
Right. That helps. So these days, just like we have SaaS platforms, we have software service platforms, we have platform as a service platforms, and similarly. So these days we are listening. Listening a lot about blockchain as a service platform. So what are they, and how businesses can leverage this particular technology in
We
their operations?
Yeah, I mean, we already have that. Microsoft have this. They offer this one, which is blockchain as a service. IBM is one of the options where you can go
Mhm.
and ask them to do this one. The blockchain itself has actually three types. The first one is the private uh, blockchain, and then you have the hybrid, and you have the public. The public one is like the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, and then you have the private one, which is come to your company, and you want me to install it for you, then I'll give you everything from A to Z, give you all the protocols and all the software. So that is the service. I mean, you are using my network to save your information, but it's your computer is connected to my network, and that is part of the private blockchain. The hybrid is you have both. You can have some applications or some data on a private one, and the same thing if you can keep the other one on the public. It's like that. It's like the cloud. You have the private, you have the hybrid, and you have the public cloud.
Right. So, if we combine the two of the topics that we discussed, the IoT and blockchain, so do you see a use case where blockchain and IoT can be combined together and, I mean, they can solve a real problem or so?
Well, as I said, I mean, the solution for the security for the IoT, because we have so many devices, can be done by the blockchain. My book, which is secure and smart IoT using blockchain and artificial intelligence, is actually discussed that one in details. Which
Mhm.
is, now we have this centralized problem. We talk about it with that example. How can I make sure that the sensors are really sending the right information? How can I make sure that the information is coming from the sensor is actually not altered when it goes to the cloud? All of these things, once you implement the blockchain, you're going to solve that problem. Especially for the IoT, the security is the biggest challenge they are facing.
Right. So recently, in a World Economics Forum survey, it was mentioned that 10% of the global GDP will be stored on blockchain by 2027.
Correct.
So, I mean, how do you think what the implications would be of this technology in the economies and organizations who are like into this area?
Well, any country is not thinking about the blockchain, they're going to be left in the dust. So if
Oh,
I can give you a long list of countries, including the UK and Malta and United States, Australia, Singapore, China, South Korea, you name it. All those countries, they look at the blockchain as something that they have to try and implement. And there is
mhm.
actually countries in Europe which is they are completely went digital. I think it's Sweden or Switzerland. I'm not sure about that, but they have I think it's Switzerland because they have the crypto valley in that country.
Oh,
So what happened with it is everything will be digitized. All the information is saved on the blockchain. So I
right,
don't have to, carry an ID with me. I don't have to do all these kind of paperwork. Everything is digitized. So for any country is not thinking about it or applying that one, they're going to find themselves really out of the grid. So this is one important thing about the application of the blockchain. This is away from the cryptocurrency because the cryptocurrency is a different story. There is so much
mhm.
implication of it. There is a lot of concern about it. But some countries they just ban it and they just out of this headache. But the same time they're focusing on real applications for the blockchain, for supply chain, for identity, for all the application that we see it
Right, right, right.
every day.
Right. So also like we have seen that as you mentioned, some governments, especially the UAE government, they have sort of passed a bill or something that every project that is being carried out needs to secure data on blockchain. So there is a lot of push towards that, and there's a lot of investment going on too. So, but still, it is, I mean, perceived that blockchain is an emerging market. So, do you think like it will change in the next few years, like a couple of years or so?
For me, it's a 5 year, span for that. I mean, just look at the UK and see how many universities are teaching anything about the blockchain. This
Mhm.
will be an indication of that the public or the
Mhm.
universities understand that there is a shortage in the skills. We have a big shortage in the skills for the blockchain developers. I was looking at the report from LinkedIn 2 weeks ago, and the number one skill needed in 2020, number one is blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
before anything else, before artificial intelligence, before cloud computing, before anything else, it's blockchain, because they understand that there's a lot of demand. And this is based on thousands of employees who are really posting, jobs, looking for people to work in that field. So this is one thing, which is the shortage in the skills. Here at San Jose State, and we have classes on blockchain. I'm running those classes. Stanford University, I introduced the one of the classes for the blockchain. Berkeley has their own program about it. One or two university has a complete degree in blockchain. That's another a perspective. So this will be
Right.
one thing about it, which is the shortage of skills. Once we have enough people to run that one, it's going to help. The other one is, again, the case of standardization. You have IBM, you have Amazon, and you have Microsoft. You have all those companies. They have their own blockchain protocols. Some of them using a certain protocols or consensus protocols. Some of them using different. Looking at how can we standardize this one so they will be interactive between the different products, so you're not going to be locked into the vendor here. That's another challenge you're going to see in this process. And number three is the cost. It's
Mm-hmm.
not cheap, to implement a blockchain. One of
Right.
the things, Hasib, I've been asked about it, and I'm working as a consultant for some of the local companies here in the Silicon Valley. The first thing I ask them when they ask me, "Oh, yeah, we heard about it, would like to implement," I say, listen, do you need it? That should be your question number one. Do you really need that technology? And the next question from them, how do I know? Then I have a matrix that I ask them certain questions, and then if they answer in a certain way, you need a private, you need a public, or just deal with your own database. You don't have to get the blockchain. It's expensive from the staff, from the technology, from the maintenance.
Right. So, like we have talked enough about blockchain now, but there are like myths around each technology that is evolving. So, what, in your opinion, have you encountered some of the main blockchain myths?
The criminal conception of linking blockchain to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin to cryptocurrency, to
Right.
ransomware.
Right.
Criminals using this one because once you have your cryptocurrency or your Bitcoin, nobody can take it away from you, nobody can trace it. And now the new criminals, when they have a ransomware, when they take over your systems, they ask you to pay in cryptocurrency.
Bitcoin.
That will be one of the myths, that the big myth we have. The second one is that everybody thinks that it's going to only apply to the financial markets. It's actually applies to anything you need to secure. If you need this data to be secure and to be available for the public, in a way where it's not going to change once you have it, it stays there, then that should be application for everything you think about it. Any record you have, student, patients, citizens, you think about this one. So the conception about it is related to the finance. That's another part of it.
Mm.
And then the other one is that nobody understand that the blockchain is basically a software. It's basically a code.
Mhm.
And when I teach my classes at both universities, one of the labs that I give them is to create their own cryptocurrencies, and they run
Right.
it and they create it, and they finish the lab with each one of them has 1 million or 2 million of their own cryptocurrency. It could be something like Hasib coin, if
Mm.
you can just name it that
Right.
coin. And the software for the block is very short. It's just powerful the way it's connected with the next block and the next block and the next block.
Right. So, what do you think can be the primary benefit for small and medium businesses and startups if they can incorporate the blockchain and IoT strategies in their business plans? I mean, growth-wise, or I mean, in general, can it help them to grow their businesses, or maybe secure some funding, or maybe exiting or go public or something?
It depends on what they're doing.
Mm.
I mean, the IoT itself is a story, and the blockchain is another story. I mean, how can the IoT help me in my business? How can the Internet of Things, how can I use the Internet of Things concept of the IoT in my business? That's something you have to think about it and do. The blockchain, again, you have to ask yourself, do I need it? And it's not you're going to have it on your record saying it's a blockchain and it's a new technology, it's an emerging technology. You need to ask yourself, do I need it or not? And
Right.
there are ways and there are checklists for you before you can go and spend the money and hire that specialist and or that consultant to tell you how you can implement it.
Right. So every new technology, everything which is coming up, actually is you can say, directly dependent on a talent pool that is available. And in some cases, companies tend to train their existing staff because of the trust, the loyalty, and many other factors to actually bring those people up to speed with the new technology stack. So, how do you think that businesses or like technology companies can incorporate this particular skill set of IoT and blockchain into their resource pool?
There are two ways of doing this one. One of them is which is internally by having their own training programs that will update the skills of the existing engineers they have. Because if you have somebody who is in communications, somebody who is, in systems, in signals, in software, then all what they're going to do just now focus on directing that person towards the application related to IoT or the blockchain. The
Right.
second one is that look for the universities that will give classes in blockchain, and those
Mhm.
classes will prepare the students when they join the your company. At least they understand what is this concept, what is this technology. The class I'm taking actually two level. The first one, which is the introduction, which we introduce the technology and we explain the application. The second one is the developer, which is now you sit down and you program and you create your own platform, and you can create the blockchain platform with any language you want. It is no limitation. Bitcoin created with C++. That's just to show you how easy excuse me, easy it is to do that. So they can go internally or it can go outside, and there are training centers where they can send their engineers to go and train and upskill their talent to get the information.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crucial to not only ask yourself whether I really need it, but also have the resources to train your talent pool accordingly. Ahmed, I know that's all we have for time, but thank you so much for being able to join us on BetterTech.
Thanks for listening to this episode by BetterTech. If you enjoyed this podcast, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to share it across your favorite social networking platform. We look forward to bringing you the latest industry news in our next episode. In the meantime, take a look at our other episodes and hit subscribe at the links in the description box below so that you don't miss out on the latest in tech.